Jake stared at the small radio sitting on the workbench. The voice had not come through normal frequencies. Every dial on the device was dead, yet the Queen spoke as clearly as if she were standing inside the bunker. No one breathed. Then Jake finally answered. "You've got a strange way of introducing yourself." A soft chuckle echoed through the room. "I expected fear." Jake leaned against the table. "Sorry to disappoint you." Eris immediately whispered, "Don't provoke her." Jake didn't take his eyes off the radio. "I wasn't planning to." The Queen's voice became calm again. "I have crossed half the galaxy searching for my daughters." "And burned colonies along the way," Jake replied. "They resisted. They were civilians. They stood between me and my family." Jake remained silent for several seconds. He suddenly realized something. She wasn't lying. She believed every word. That made her far more dangerous than someone driven only by cruelty. Several light years away, inside the Queen's flagship, hundreds of officers watched Jake through quantum surveillance. No one interrupted. No one dared. The Queen herself stood motionless before the enormous viewing chamber. One advisor stepped closer. "Shall we terminate communication?" She slowly shook her head. "No. He interests me." The advisor frowned. "A single human?" She nodded. "Most beings kneel before power. This one questions it." Back inside the bunker, Vea quietly stepped toward the radio. "Mother." For the first time, the Queen's voice changed. The cold ruler disappeared. Only a worried mother remained. "Vea!" Tears filled the young princess's glowing eyes. "You are alive." "I am. Come home." Silence. Vea lowered her head. "I can't." Every officer aboard the flagship froze. No daughter had ever refused the Queen, not once. The Queen spoke again. "You believe this human can protect you?" Vea looked toward Jake. "He already has. He cannot stop an empire." Jake finally answered, "Maybe not." The Queen waited. "But I don't have to stop an empire." Her curiosity grew. "I only have to keep my promise." Those simple words echoed through the command bridge. Even veteran generals exchanged uncertain looks. Promises. Among humanity, promises seemed strangely powerful. Warning. Every screen inside the flagship flashed red. An officer shouted, "Unknown fleet entering the outer system." Everyone turned. Dozens. Hundreds. Then thousands of new signals appeared. The Queen narrowed her eyes. "Identify them." Moments later, the answer arrived. No known registry. No recognized technology. No matching civilization. The bridge fell silent. Jake's bunker lights flickered again. This time the emergency radio picked up another transmission. But it wasn't the Queen. It was an old human voice. "Any survivors? Respond." Jake rushed toward the receiver. "This is Jake Turner." Static. Then, "Jake?" His eyes widened. "No way." The voice laughed weakly. "Took you long enough." Jake recognized it instantly. Captain Elias Mercer. A man officially declared dead 8 years earlier. Eris looked confused. "You know him?" Jake slowly nodded. "He taught me everything about surviving frontier worlds." The transmission continued. "If you're still alive, don't let them find the vault." Jake's heart nearly stopped. "What vault?" Static answered. Then only one sentence broke through. "They were never searching for the princesses. They were searching for what humanity buried." The signal vanished. The bunker became completely silent. Vea looked toward Jake. "What does that mean?" Jake honestly answered, "I have absolutely no idea." But something deep inside him remembered. As a child, his grandfather had once pointed toward the northern mountains. Never go there. Some things were hidden for a reason. Jake had always believed it was simply an old frontier story. Now, he wasn't so sure. High above the colony, Commander Threx received the same mysterious transmission. He immediately contacted the flagship. "My queen," she answered instantly. "I heard it. So the rumors were true." Her glowing eyes slowly lifted toward the northern hemisphere of the planet. Humanity concealed something here. "What are your orders?" The queen smiled for the first time in years. "We change our objective. The daughters remain important. But the vault," her voice became almost reverent, "must belong to us." Inside the bunker, Eris activated her portable star map. She projected the colony onto the wall. Almost immediately, one region began glowing, a mountain range nearly forgotten by every modern chart. Jake stared at it. "I've lived here 20 years. I've never been there." Eris looked at the energy readings. "This isn't natural." "What is it?" "I don't know. But whatever is beneath those mountains, it has been hiding from the entire galaxy." Jake quietly packed his old backpack. He grabbed a flashlight, his lucky wrench, a weathered survival knife, and the faded photograph of his parents. Via noticed the picture. "You carry them everywhere?" Jake smiled softly. "They remind me why ordinary people keep standing." Outside, the first rays of morning broke over. The mechanical voice rolled across the planet like thunder. Human genetic signature confirmed. Final Guardian protocol activated. For several seconds, nobody moved. Jake stood frozen beside the old bunker entrance while blue light spread across the distant mountains. Tower after tower continued rising from beneath the earth, each one taller than the largest colony skyscraper. Their polished black surfaces reflected the morning sun, making them look like giants waking after thousands of years. Eris stared at the display on her scanner. This technology shouldn't exist." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" "It is older than every civilization recorded in our archives." Via looked toward the glowing horizon. "And it only responded to a human." Jake quietly tightened the straps on his backpack. "Looks like we're taking a trip." Far above Kepler-19, panic spread across the Queen's flagship. Navigation systems blinked wildly. Gravity sensors failed. Even the fleet's most advanced quantum computers began producing impossible calculations. Commander Threx looked at the tactical display in disbelief. "Our scanners cannot see inside the mountain range." The Queen remained perfectly calm. "Can they see anything?" Threx swallowed. "They only detect one message repeating." "What message?" He hesitated before reading it aloud. "Access denied. Awaiting Guardian." The bridge fell silent. One elderly advisor slowly stepped forward. "My queen." She looked at him. "I have heard those words before." Every officer turned. "Where?" The old advisor lowered his voice. "In Forbidden Legends." He touched an ancient symbol hanging around his neck. The story spoke of a species that built wonders before the oldest empires learned to travel between stars. The Queen narrowed her glowing eyes. "You believe the legends?" "I believe they were myths." He looked toward the planet below. "I no longer do." Jake, Eris, and Via left the farm just before sunrise. They avoided roads and traveled through narrow canyons where enemy patrols rarely searched. The journey was quiet. Only the distant sound of starships reminded them that a war surrounded the peaceful landscape. After several hours, Vea stopped walking. Jake noticed immediately. "What is it?" She slowly pointed toward the sky. Hundreds of tiny silver lights drifted downward like glowing snow. Jake reached out and caught one. It wasn't snow. It was a tiny floating machine no larger than a grain of rice. Eris immediately recognized it. "Observation drones." Jake crushed one between his fingers. "They've found us." Almost instantly, thousands more appeared. The entire valley sparkled with silver light. Commander Threx's voice echoed through hidden speakers. "Mr. Turner." Jake sighed. "He's persistent. You cannot outrun an entire fleet." Jake looked toward the mountain path ahead. "I don't need to." He suddenly grabbed a smooth rock from the ground and threw it high into the air. The tiny drone cameras instantly tracked it. Jake smiled. Still predictable. He reached into his backpack and removed a small homemade launcher built from farm equipment. Within seconds, dozens of metal ball bearings shot into the sky. Each one reflected sunlight in every direction. To the alien sensors, thousands of fake targets suddenly appeared. The observation swarm split apart in confusion. Eris couldn't hide her surprise. "You fooled military drones with polished steel?" Jake shrugged. "They're computers. They follow patterns. And humans break patterns." The three disappeared into the forest before the drones corrected their mistake. Hours later, they reached the edge of the ancient mountain range. Everything changed. The air felt warmer. The wind completely stopped. Even the birds refused to fly overhead. Via whispered softly, "This place feels alive." Jake nodded. "It does." Without warning, the ground beneath them glowed. Ancient symbols spread across the stone like rivers of blue fire. A deep vibration echoed beneath their feet. Then, the mountain itself began opening, not breaking. Opening. Massive stone walls silently folded apart, revealing an enormous passage descending deep beneath the planet. No explosions, no machinery. Everything moved with impossible precision. Eris stared in complete disbelief. "I've never seen engineering like this." Jake looked toward the darkness. "Guess we're invited." The tunnel stretched for miles. Its walls shimmered like polished crystal. There were no lights, yet everything remained perfectly visible. Finally, the passage opened into a chamber so vast that none of them could see its ceiling. Entire cities could have fit inside. Floating platforms drifted silently through the air. Crystal rivers carried glowing energy beneath transparent floors. In the very center stood a single enormous structure shaped like a throne. No, not a throne, a command station. As Jake stepped forward, the entire chamber awakened. Blue light flowed across every wall. Ancient machines began humming after countless centuries of silence. Then the same mechanical voice returned. Guardian confirmed. "Welcome home." Jake looked around in confusion. "I think you've got the wrong guy." For the first time, the voice answered differently. "Negative. DNA verification complete. Descendant of First Guardian Elias Turner." Jake's heartbeat stopped. Turner. His own family name. He slowly looked at the faded photograph inside his jacket. His grandfather had always said their family protected something. Jake had believed it was just another old frontier tale. It wasn't. Every story had been true. Suddenly, thousands of holographic stars filled the chamber. The galaxy appeared above them. Red lights covered hundreds of worlds. Then a calm, ancient voice spoke. "If this message has awakened, humanity has forgotten its first promise." Jake watched silently. The hologram changed. Millions of years ago, humans stood beside dozens of alien civilizations, not as conquerors, but as guardians who ended wars before they began. Then came a terrible enemy from beyond the known galaxy. To stop them, humanity sacrificed nearly everything. Their greatest technology, their strongest fleets, even their own history. The survivors hid the remaining knowledge beneath forgotten worlds like Kepler-19, waiting for a future generation worthy enough to protect it instead of abusing it. The message ended with one final warning. Power without compassion destroys civilizations. Choose wisely, Guardian. Jake slowly exhaled. He finally understood why no empire had ever found this place. The vault wasn't hidden by weapons. It was hidden by character. Only someone who chose to protect others before seeking power could unlock it. Eris looked at Jake with newfound respect. "The vault chose you." Before Jake could answer, the chamber suddenly shook violently. A deafening explosion echoed through the tunnel behind them. The ancient chamber trembled as another explosion echoed through the mountain. Small pieces of crystal rained from the ceiling, but the enormous vault remained standing. It had survived thousands of years. A few blasts from modern weapons were nothing more than scratches. Jake stepped in front of Eris and Via without thinking. The tunnel behind them filled with smoke. Then heavy footsteps echoed through the darkness. Commander Threx appeared first, followed by dozens of elite soldiers dressed in black armor that shimmered with blue energy. Behind them, every soldier immediately knelt. A calm silence spread across the chamber. Someone else had arrived. The alien queen slowly walked through the smoke. She looked exactly as legends described, tall, graceful, and surrounded by floating crystal fragments that glowed like tiny stars. Yet her face showed no anger, only determination. Her glowing eyes settled on her daughters. "You have made your mother travel very far." Via took one careful step forward. "We never wanted war." The queen answered softly, "Neither did I." Jake looked at the burning tunnel behind her. Funny way of showing it. For a moment, several soldiers raised their rifles. The queen lifted one finger. Every weapon lowered instantly. She continued looking only at Jake. "So, you are the human." Jake nodded. "I guess I am. You protected my daughters when no one asked you to. They needed help. You gained nothing." Jake smiled slightly. Helping people isn't always about gaining something. The queen studied him carefully. Among all the rulers she had conquered, none had ever answered that way. Before anyone could speak again, the vault suddenly came alive. Thousands of blue lights raced across the enormous chamber. The mechanical guardian spoke once more. "Unauthorized military presence detected. Evaluating intentions." The entire room became silent. A glowing circle appeared beneath every living person. Jake's circle shined bright blue. Aris and Via glowed soft silver. Commander Threx's circle flashed yellow. The Queen's circle burned deep crimson. No one understood what the colors meant. Then the Guardian explained. "Blue, protectors. Silver, seekers of peace. Yellow, those who obey." The Guardian paused. Its voice became heavier. "Red, those consumed by fear." The Queen slowly looked down at the crimson light surrounding her feet. Fear. She almost laughed. She ruled thousands of worlds. Entire civilizations feared her name. How could she be the one ruled by fear? Then memories flooded her mind. The death of her husband, the endless loneliness, every battle she started because she feared losing someone else. Every world she destroyed before it could become a threat. For the first time in decades, she questioned herself. Suddenly, the chamber shook harder than before. An emergency alarm echoed through the vault. The Guardian's calm voice changed. "Warning. Unknown vessels entering the system." A holographic image appeared above everyone. It showed something impossible. A gigantic black rift had opened beyond the planet. From it emerged ships unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They had no smooth designs, no recognizable engines. Their hulls looked alive, like creatures made from darkness itself. Eris gasped. "It can't be." The Queen whispered one forgotten name. "The Void Swarm." Commander Threx turned pale. "I thought they were extinct," the Guardian answered. "Incorrect. They have returned." The hologram zoomed out. Not hundreds, not thousands. Millions of enemy ships poured through the rift like a tide swallowing the stars. Entire solar systems disappeared behind them. Jake stared silently. "So," he looked toward the Guardian. "They're the reason this place exists." "Affirmative." The Queen slowly turned toward Jake. Her voice had completely changed. No pride remained. If they reach this galaxy, the Guardian finished her sentence, all civilizations will perish. Silence covered the chamber. Humans, aliens, soldiers, princesses. For the first time, everyone faced the same enemy. Jake finally broke the silence. Then stop pointing guns at each other. Nobody answered. He continued. You crossed the galaxy to save your daughters. The Queen looked toward Eris and Vea. They crossed the stars because they wanted peace. He pointed toward the enormous hologram showing the approaching invasion. And those things don't care who wins this argument. Commander Threx slowly lowered his weapon. One by one, every soldier did the same. The Queen closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she gave an order no one expected. Stand down. Every warrior immediately obeyed. The Guardian responded. Unity detected. The chamber shook once more. An enormous platform slowly rose from beneath the floor. Resting upon it was a breathtaking spacecraft, unlike anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Its silver hull reflected every star. Golden energy flowed beneath its surface like living rivers. Its wings stretched wider than entire cities. The Guardian spoke proudly. The Ark of Humanity. Last Guardian vessel. Jake stared upward. You expect me to fly that? Negative. Jake looked confused. Then who? The Guardian answered with one final surprise. Not one Guardian. Many. Hundreds of glowing symbols suddenly left the chamber walls. Some floated toward Jake. Others surrounded Eris. Many circled the Queen herself. Even Commander Threx received one. The Guardian's voice echoed through every corner of the vault. Humanity's greatest strength was never superior technology. It was the ability to unite strangers. Several hours later, the skies above Kepler-19 looked completely different. Human colony ships stood beside the Queen's battle fleet. Alien engineers repaired human cruisers. Human mechanics upgraded alien shields using surprisingly simple ideas that improved efficiency beyond expectation. Soldiers who had tried to kill each other that morning now worked side by side. Jake walked across the enormous flight deck of the Ark. Vea smiled. I never imagined this. Jake laughed. Neither did I. Eris looked toward the stars. The galaxy will remember today. Jake shook his head. Hopefully, it remembers tomorrow instead. Far beyond the edge of known space, the endless black fleet continued advancing. Its leader slowly opened glowing white eyes. It watched the newly united alliance gathering around the ancient Guardian ship. Then it smiled. Not with confidence, with curiosity. After countless ages, humanity had finally awakened again, and for the first time in thousands of years, the oldest enemy in existence had found something it had almost forgotten. A reason to be afraid.